Welcome to the DFS Express Podcast, your stop for daily fantasy sports talk, including slate breakdowns and industry commentary. Let's go to the host of our show, the Daily Fantasy Sniper.
It's time. UFC Auckland, our main event is Paul Felder versus Dan Hooker. Here with you to talk through this fight. Main event breakdown only, fight breakdown, but also more importantly, how I'm going to play this fight on DraftKings. Do full card breakdowns over at DFS Army. Go to dfsarmy.com. Use the code SNIPER for 20% off. It's not just me. More coaches, lineup optimizers, tools, all sports, one price. Really think it's a great value. As always, guys, like, comment, subscribe to the podcast. That's number one. If you want to support, I really appreciate it, especially on YouTube, trying to get to 500 by the end of the year. I'm around 300 right now. If you're on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, any of that stuff, the YouTube page is under the Daily Fantasy Sniper. Appreciate all of that, guys. Let's talk about this fight. We'll start with the DraftKings salaries. Dan Hooker, 8,700. Paul Felder checks in at 7,500. A line in the fight. Paul Felder is the underdog. Hooker is a minus 150 favorite. The comeback on Paul Felder is plus 130. Fight does not go to decision. Currently at minus 140, so a little better than 50% chance we see a finish according to the Vegas books. Per fighter, Hooker inside the distance plus 165. Felder plus 330, so according to Vegas, Hooker is twice as likely to finish the fight. About. My math could be wrong there. Don't check me on that. Hooker more likely to get a finish in general. Fight breakdown here. I actually think we're going to see a decision. I think this is going to be a striking match at range. People who like MMA math are probably confused why Dan Hooker is the favorite, because Dan Hooker was destroyed by Edson Barboza, and Barboza lost to Paul Felder. Paul Felder's had two fights with him. Both were close last time out. Felder got a split decision nod. In terms of scoring, I just, neither one of these guys are really going to go for takedowns. We should just see a stand-up affair here. Neither one has crazy volume. Hooker throws at a little bit more volume. He's got a 5-inch reach advantage. But I kind of think that Felder is a more technical striker. I think it is very close on the feet. I have a small lean towards Paul Felder. I just think he's going to do enough to win some of these close rounds. It being in New Zealand and the judging, I am a little concerned about that. I just think this is, the line is pretty close. I even think it should be lined a little bit tighter. I'm going to lean towards Paul Felder. I just think he's got good enough fight IQ, good enough technical know-how to win a 5-round decision. I do think Hooker is more likely to finish. You've seen it on his resume before. He's got more finishes than Felder. Bigger DraftKings scores. He's more likely to put up 100 points in general. Oh, he's got 111 against Vic, 121 against Burns, 112 against Miller. He's got big finishes, but Paul Felder has only been finished once, and that was in the 3rd round against Francisco Trinaldo. He's been in there up a weight class against Mike Perry with a broken arm. He 2 fights against Edson Barboza, one of which he won. The other one was super close. So Felder's a tough guy to finish, and if Hooker doesn't get that early finish, I don't think he scores very well. And that's kind of how I see this fight playing out. There is, in cash games, I think you either stack this fight or stay away. I don't think it's a lock for, an early finish, ton of points. There's enough other punts on the card too, if you go real cheap, that I don't think you have to play this fight in cash is what I'm getting at. I think we're going to see 5 rounds of striking. It may not score very high. You could have both guys getting, 90 to 100 strikes, let's say 100 strikes, and the winner, 30 points in a decision. That's 130, which is fine for your stack. So stacking is always viable. I don't hate it here. I think we're going to see 5 rounds. But if you want to go other places and that you're confident, pay up in some spots and just avoid this fight. I don't hate it. I don't think it's a slam dunk. Same thing in GPPs. We have so many high inside the distance prop fights. And this fight, the main event, is going to be so heavily owned I'm probably going to be underweight. I don't think Hooker gets a quick finish for the reason I mentioned. I think it's going to be a little bit of a feeling out process. Felder is a very good opponent. I think he gets underrated a little bit pretty consistently. So he's not a lock for the optimal, especially with all the fights right below him kind of, piling up points in terms of inside the distance and exposures I'm going to want. So for that reason, I'm probably going to have more Paul Felder. And while I am leaning towards him for a pick, again, for a little bit more, there's guys with huge ceilings right there. And Felder's going to be high owned just because both sides of the main event are going to be high owned. Going underweight to this fight, I think, is a viable GPP strategy this week. I don't see either one of these guys starching the other inside of 2 rounds, ending up a lock on the optimal lineup. They can both still get there with a decision, especially Felder. But I don't the way this slate shakes out, I don't think either one of these guys is a priority. So my pick is Felder to win a close striking battle. Is a Hooker decision going to surprise me? No, I think we could see a split decision again, and you've got the hometown cooking to worry about. But I still am going to pick Paul Felder, 48-47. I think it's a really, really close fight. In terms of DraftKings, just to recap, stack and cash is fine. I'm not committed to it, though. I don't think it's a priority. And in GPPs, my strategy is going to be underweight to the field. I think there are better spots on this card. So that is my main event breakdown for UFC Auckland here on the Express. Hope you guys enjoy it. Again, this podcast is just in and out. Give you some quick info, some quick insight. Always willing to chat more with you guys on Twitter about all the fights. At sniper_DFS. Leave a comment. Just want to talk. I'll talk about all the fights. Just want to record the podcast here on the main event, which is what we do here. Hope you enjoyed. Good luck in your contest. I'll see you next time.